All right. Hello, everyone. On this stream, we are going to be talking about a big crowdfunding launch on the Zoop platform that has gone down this past week. I'm really, really excited because we have today, my guest today is the Eisner-nominated and New York Times bestselling co-creator of the Manhattan Projects, which he co-created with Jonathan Hickman, which is published by Image Comics. He also has art credits with virtually every major comic book publisher and has just launched a brand new project that he's conceived, written, and drawn called Ax-Wielder Jon, which has had an amazing crowdfunding launch this week on the Zoop platform, one of the newer crowdfunding platforms. So he's here to talk all about it. Welcome to Comics Launch, Nick Pitarra. How you doing, Nick?
Hey man, good to see you again. It's been a while, and yeah, I appreciate you having me on. A big part of this crowdfunding thing is promoting stuff early. It's almost like you're inverting the way the industry works, where you got to hide your art and stuff. And so I've been trying to get out there in front of this thing. You only have this one window to sell, So
Yeah,
just
it is. It's a different kind of model, but as you've already seen, for someone that your books usually come out on the diamond schedule, and that is something where, like, I mean, you're probably done and on to like 2 issues beyond it when things are actually getting ordered and everything. And so, like, the disconnect between the creator and when, like, the key order windows and everything is pretty strong, whereas something like this, you're seeing in real time what it's like to promote. So that's got to be a kind of a cool experience for someone that has been, so much in the direct market for the past decade or so.
Yeah, and when I started this, I kind of had a pretty good idea. Like, I'm an oversharer anyway. Like, I'll get in trouble for sharing stuff, but it's not coming out for 6 months, and the publisher gets mad. But I knew with this, I wasn't going to a publisher. I wasn't going to ask to make it. And so with Ax-Wielder, I was like, I can just share everything and build an audience and build a brand awareness for this book over the last year and a half. That's what I've done. And the second I draw a cool image, I show it off and say, yeah. And people ask, well, which publisher is this? And I'll say, I haven't decided yet, but I always knew I was going to crowdfund it because I didn't want like editorial interference on it,
Yeah.
and didn't want them telling me I couldn't do what I wanted to make with me writing and drawing my first thing. And so really thinking about it and inverting it completely. And it really plays to my tendencies anyway, because you want that dopamine boost of, hey, I just drew a page. And like you said, there's that disconnect where you're drawing something and you're on issue 4 and you're just now showing off issue 1 stuff because of the diamond delay. And you're just like, oh, you put me on the big screen now.
Yeah, we got to get a close. We got to get a close up of that mug.
Yeah. So, but you have that delay. So then when the book comes out, you're kind of over those pages. Those are 3 or 4 or 5 months old. And
Yeah,
you never,
most artists I know, like, they tend to hate the stuff that they've done, like,
yeah.
with like semi recently, like the stuff you were doing like 6 months, 3 months, 6 months ago, you hate. And then but the new stuff is great, right?
Yeah, the new stuff is great. So, like, my enthusiasm for the new stuff, like, the readers get to, or the potential fans get to see it, and you get to build some momentum. And I was doing a lot of research. I was watching your videos and a few different people's advice, and I just thought you could invert it and show all this stuff off early. And really, like, some people are like, hold back stuff, hold back. I'm like, I'm not holding back anything. Like, I'm going to show as much as I can, because I want people also, you're building the product in their mind. It feels more real if you've seen 20 or 30 pages from a book.
Yeah.
And like, now I have 100 and it's a 108-page main story, and I got 14-ish pages left to draw of that. And we got a lot of extras in the back and stuff. So it blows up to 148. And that's 108 without our design work put in. We got Ben Dieter doing the design work. So on the book, I just wanted people to realize that it's been work. So now anyone who follows me on social media knows that this thing has been building for a long time. And so then when it was ready to go, it kind of just popped. And a big part of that, the research I was doing, was the email list. And I got to talk to a guy named his name's David Hyde from Superfan Promotions. I don't know if you know who he is, but he works exclusively with Kickstarter. And Kickstarter tried to court me a little bit. We had a private call, and they offered me the premium spot over there, but they didn't do fulfillment. And I just didn't want to put my toe into this market without having distribution and fulfillment services help, So that's what Zoop offers. And they're a new platform, so it's kind of a little harder to drive people to pull their wallet out on a new platform. But I talked to Hickman, and he was going to do his. I mentioned Zoop, and he's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about using Zoop for my Substack hardcovers." And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about using for Ax-Wielder." And so it was a little easier call knowing that he was coming over. Then Zoop kind of relayed to me some of the bigger names that are going to hop over there too.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as big as a gamble as it seemed. The thing, and the cool thing about them is, like, I wanted to, Kickstarter lets you build your email list for a month, and I don't know if they extended or not, but I was building my email list for 4 months. I was building it. Every time I tweeted out a page, I was like, "Hey, the early signups here." And
Yeah.
then while that was going on, I would be like, I'll pick somebody off this email list to get a free drawing,
Mm.
and just do little gimmicks because everything, all the research I said was you need a good chunk of emails on that start. So
Yeah, it's still to this day probably the biggest predictor of campaign performance is just, do you have an email list? And there are some, some marketing companies and things that, like, if you don't even have that list, they're not even going to work with you, because they want to use that list as like the basis of how they generate other audiences to put it in front of. So it's awesome that you were really doing that. And so yeah, I'm excited to sort of dive into the Zoop discussion and the Zoop decision there, because I know that was a big one and everything. But I don't want to bury the lead on this in terms of, I know this is a passion project of yours. It's something that's personal to you, and it is basically, as you said, this is Nick unleashed and unrestrained. Can you talk a little bit about the origin of this book and the character, and just why this is something that is just, what, this is going to be something that this is going to be my vision, and I'm really going to take the reins on it,
yeah,
100%.
yeah, absolutely. I talked a little bit about this in some interviews, but a couple of years ago we had our first daughter, and she got sick in the hospital. She had this blockage that ruptured, and some of her intestines died, and there was a bunch of surgeries to correct that. And we ended up staying in the Ronald McDonald House for a couple of months, and after that, doing a couple reconstructive surgeries and having to go back to the hospital for those. And so she's better now, and it's all good. But during that time, I was in like a helpless spot with her, because you're not a doctor and you're not God, and you can't,
Mm.
it's out of your hands. And I started doodling this character who didn't like people telling him what to do, didn't like giving it over to anybody else or trusting anybody else. He fixed the world his way. And I love, machismo stuff and action stuff. So I just thought, well, what if there was a character that was always pig-headed and determined to fix the world his way, no matter what? And what if his way of fixing stuff was wielding axes and breaking things in two? And then that's kind of a rough idea. But then I thought, what if I give him the situation that I'm in, where he can't fix the problem by cutting it in two anymore? And
Mm.
then a kind of a story started developing out of that. And I really loved the story, and I really wanted to honor how he came to me when I needed him. I really wanted to find a new direction for my career. I want to be a writer artist. I've been wanting to do that kind of stuff for a long time. And so, um, as John was sharpening his axes to kill people in the comic, I was sharpening my pencils, was going to get to work. And I
Yeah.
knew from the outset I was not going to pitch it. Like, if publishers want to come to me and offer me something, that's fine. But I just knew I wasn't going to ask. I wasn't going to have someone tell me it's too violent, it's too many curse words. I was going to make it my way, no matter what. And so I talked to my wife about it, and she was on board. And money's tight, because you're not making your page rate for a year and a half as you're drawing it, and you're paying a production. I got all, I think all-star cast of professionals, Marvel colorists, Mike Garland. I got to pay his Marvel rate or more.
Yeah.
I got a letterer who works at DC. Got to pay him what he's owed. Got a great Chris Stevens is a fantastic editor, and he's like won multiple Eisners. Got to pay him. So as these pages come in, and then I read this book called Little Bird, and the chapter design breaks were so great on it. And the guy was named Ben Dieter, and I reached out to him, and he's this high-end designer. So
Mm.
having to fund all those guys and not make a page rate for a year and a half was a huge gamble. So this has been me just like betting on myself, which is what I've always kind of done, and foolishly, without thinking. I'm just like, I'm going to do it. And I just thought, if I draw the best I possibly can and add the most detail I possibly can and put my heart into the story, will people get a reaction? Now, no one's read the story yet, other than advanced readers PDF that I send out to some people.
Yeah.
And I started getting really good pull quotes from, obviously a lot of top professionals. And Sienkiewicz had some nice words, Quietly had some nice words, and Hickman, obviously. Hickman, a little bit gray area there because I work with him. He's got to be nice, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, they all kind of jumped on board and kind of built. I would tweet out this stuff every few months as they would come in. I would send people, and it kind of built up a little steam for the book. And so I didn't know if it was going to make $3,000 or what, if it was going to break. My secret wish was it would break at least 35, so it would cover the Zoop fees and what I'm out, because I put over $20,000 into it of my own money. So
Yeah,
I just,
I mean, jumping straight into an oversized graphic novel, it's a big outlay of cash,
yeah,
as obviously you know.
I'm learning about
Um,
lay flat binding right now, and that is not good, dude. That's expensive.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's even a strange world right now where things that you never had to think about before, like even just getting the paper stock that you want, is now like,
Well,
we're,
I listened to your
yeah.
podcast about all that, and you're like, maybe this isn't the year. Also, you broke my heart. Like, maybe this isn't the year you want to do that special hardcover that you've been thinking about. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, you're killing
you're
me,
killing
dude.
me, Tyler. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh man, Tyler is just killing me on this one.
And it's funny because I was sort of thinking that, and we have a project coming down the line that like the creator really wanted to do hardcover, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's not. But now, as I'm like looking at what we've done in the past, it's hard. Like once you crack into the hardcover space, it's hard not to really just want to keep like outdoing yourself with everything. And so, I'm just like, I reached out to one of my printers. I'm like, hey, what's the situation like right now? Can you still, can we do it? And she's like, yeah, we can still do it. It's not as bad as people are saying. So, for those people like Nick that are determined to do the hardcovers, don't let it stop you. I'm going to be printing a few this year. And Nick is going to be producing an awesome one here with the Zoop team. I want to talk process a little bit because did I read it right that like each panel is 11 by 17
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
drew for this? Because it is amazing and insane. and but it also explains how you're able to get the level of detail into each page. But talk a little bit about that decision, and just and actually just when you sat down to draw this thing. What was your thought process there? And or is it just
Well,
don't tell me it's a stupid idea, because I'm gonna be doing it no matter what.
yeah, I was so like on that page right there with Lord Fang on the right,
Yeah,
that two-tier one on the right there, it or my right, I don't know what it looks like on your end, but so that's actually just that one panel on the right is a double page spread turned sideways. So that bottom one's 11 by 17, the top one is 22 by 17. Yeah. So that's how you get all the detail there. But what I was thinking was on most of this, it's widescreen. It's either a double page spread, every now and then there's a splash, or a 2/3 page splash. And so with the book, I had no idea how I was going to promote it
yeah,
other than on socials. But I was thinking about releasing it in panels on something like a web comic, let people read
yeah,
up to like this really good turn in the book that I think is a good turn and hook people. And so I wasn't sure. And I thought the format of 1/3 tier would work really well on phones.
mm,
And so I also knew that I was working so detailed, and I've always been trying to up myself and try to draw better, that I needed a production system, almost like, meaning that I knew I was going to go back to micron so I can get really clean line. And I only use the two smallest ones, the 003 and the 005, when inking this thing.
mm,
And then I thought, well, I'm a pretty heavy handed artist. So what if I shrink and draw big and shrinks down really nice? And so what I did was, everyone says draw a page a day. And I say, you know what? I'll make my life super easy. One panel a day, Nick. Do one
mm.
panel a day. Well, if you time it out, a hardcover a year, you could get it done if you did a panel a day, if you're doing, this 3-tier widescreen type
Yeah,
of comic. So that was the idea. You would have over 100-page hardcover every year. It would be immaculate. The art sales should, reflect in a good way, which is a big part of my income.
yeah,
And yeah, so like, and then with Zoop specifically, they're willing to change their platform with you. Like if you've got some demands, they can go in and tweak stuff. And one of the things I wanted to do was the art tier. Mike Felix Comic Art, who reps me, is fantastic at his job. So they just have a separate button for free. And then those people have the option to go buy the art, which kind of makes it this exclusive thing. And now Felix is working on selling that art on the side, and he reports the numbers back. So
Yeah.
that number is going to put us, it'll put us over 100K. Based on the early reporting from Felix, and he called me yesterday and told me when we hit 60, we should be over 100 for the campaign. We got to, so Zoop's going to update those numbers and work in tandem with Felix. You can't really do that with Kickstarter or Indiegogo, but I knew I wanted that income on here because it is part of the project, and people do sell their art through Kickstarters and stuff. So I said, okay, I'm going to use this whole entity in Felix and what Zoop can do, let them work together and have a better result. So yeah, we're going to hit 3 or 6 figures, which is really cool. And I really want it to, the optics of it are important too, like looking like a winner, looking like a 6-figure campaign with our first campaign is important to me. And I created an entity called Karoshi Comics, which in Japanese means to die from overwork, which is what I hope to do, kill over at the drafting table one day, a long time from now, hopefully. But that way, when we collect the emails, the next books we do, we could use, I do the cover, and then I can tweet them all and say, hey, I'm not doing the interiors, but I'm doing the cover, and we got this new book. And it's a way for if other creatives want to reach out. Like, I don't want anything from anybody. Only thing I want them to do is come over, do top-notch work, and all you got to do is take the email list, and when it grows for you, give it back to me, and as it grows, we'll give it to the next guy. No jealousy, no wanting anyone's IP, none of that. Build your own stuff, but you don't got to start from 0 emails like I did, because I had to start from 0 emails. So that's the kind of concept, and we've already got a couple people on board that want to do some books after Jon and write and draw and kind of be free of the big 2. And I love the big 2, but their rates haven't gone up in a long time. And this was a way, there's a secret number I have in my head where, and that's 80K on this, where I make all my money back and I get my Marvel page rate from the book, like, let's say just for rough estimate, my Marvel page rate is 300 a page. Well, then 100 pages is $30,000. If I sunk 20,000 into it, that's 50,000 that I've lost putting this book out at like the most professional level. That's what it would cost Marvel to do it or something. So now if it hits 80, Zoop takes 25%. I'm getting like 200 a page or something, and I can live with that if I own the property and can do whatever I want with it. So if we do get to this 100 number, I'm actually going to make more than my Marvel rate, own the IP that I could resell or take to any company and publish if I want later, or I can just keep doing it myself. And I've made a business model now where as long as the fans stay and like the product, that I can now self-sustain and make more money than go into the big 2 and saying, please, will you hire me? I'm over that now. Like, if they want to hire me, they're going to have to pay me at least what I make to make my own IP from now on, and that was I really wanted to be free of the whims of the industry, because I don't like you have a lot of foresight when it comes to people are breaking off. You have the main model of how everyone does it, and it's kind of it gives all the power to the companies, and we're all at the bottom like crabs pulling each other down, and the rates are going down. But now what if the workers go and create their own entities? And with online promotion and YouTube, it's literally YouTube, social media, it's about you. Can you grow those little entities into companies or concepts or products or whatever you want to do? And I think the more the culture is this me, which is a good thing or a bad thing, it just you see what it is. But the more it is like that, the more people are going to realize that Marvel has nothing without the best artists and the best writers. Those people have tons of value that I believe is undervalued. So break off and do your own thing and see if you can make it work. And it was just a big gamble on my part, and it looks like it's going to work out. So I'm tickled about that and really happy with Zoop. And
that's exciting. And this is something that, like, I haven't probably talked enough about it on this show, because a lot of the creators that tend to listen to the show are creators that do have that DIY sort of indie, like going at it, and not looking for publisher permission to get there, and just, or they're just sort of maybe won't have that option because publishers are very limited in the number of sort of new talents and new IPs that they'll take a chance on. So it is interesting to hear the perspective from someone that, it's not like you don't have other options or other things to do with your time, like, you know, and that there really is a trade-off and a sacrifice, as it were, for a professional artist, that this is what he does, to make a living, put a roof over his house, and all of that, and to dive into the indie world, where it's sort of like, you know, I've even talked to some, you know, pros that are like, oh, I'm not going to say jealous, but like, they're like, man, you know, I wish that was around when I was getting started, so that could have been an option as well. But being able to bounce between and always have like, here's your own creator own stuff that's going, and then I'll take the really good profile building jobs that excite me, in the mainstream, and having both of those things, it seems like that's just a smart way to go, and it's the kind of thing that, like, you know, Robert Kirkman has been talking about for over a
Yeah.
decade now, right?
Yeah, Kirkman's someone I look up to when it comes to that. Kirkman does a different thing where, you know, he takes half the IP now because he's become a little mini Marvel, which is cool. I
Yeah.
mean, people need that, but I didn't want to give any IP away. And then James Herron's a friend, and he's doing Ultra Mega with those guys at Skybound, which is Kirkman's label at Image. And it's I wanted to tell, you know, Herron privately, dude, you got 100,000 followers on Instagram, dude. You can utilize that, man.
Mm.
You don't have to sell. I mean, you don't have to take a page rate from anybody, dude. Let the people come to you. And I know I'm not Heron, but I was like, man, I got a mouth. I can run my mouth. I can go out there and promote myself.
Yeah.
And that's a big stress. That's a big reason why I went so big on the art. I wanted the art to feel special and over the top. And I really tried to um, refine my style to make it a little more marketable, because I used to draw really silly,
Mm.
big bobbly heads, and now I'm like, well, what does it look like? I need to draw cool for the first time,
Yeah.
because that's the comic book market. I couldn't do a barbarian scratching his ass and picking his picking his ears, you know. I needed to have him look stoic and awesome, you know. So
Yeah.
basically, like, that was a big being aware of how I was going to market this thing was really important. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the campaign is off to an amazing start, and you know, I backed it today. That was my you know, you helped me. You know, I'm no longer a Zoop virgin. I've now backed a Zoop project, so I'm excited to get that hardcover. And one of the things I like about your campaign design is that, you know, the hardcover is sort of the main approach, but you do have, you know, a limited number of sort of smart upgrades that you approach, so that people can pledge at higher levels if they want, and kind of nice and streamlined. So, you know, so some of the different ways that backers can upgrade their pledge you went with is, like, you know, there's the signed upgrade. So I know that, like, what's your plan to sign these books? Because I know part of working with Zoop is them handling sort of the distribution and fulfillment, correct? Or is that?
Yeah. They're really a third party thing. Like, the way it works is, I can tell you the percentages too, since you're you know, you're more specific towards the stuff. But so Kickstarter takes 10%, but you get charged the credit card processing fee. So it's probably, let's just round it up to 15%. Zoop takes 25%, but they eat the credit card processing fees. So now you're down to something like 20%. So it's really the difference between 15 and 20%, or 13 and 22%, or, you know, the range is like about a 10% to less difference in the two totals, because of the credit card processing, the way it works. So what they do now is they are the middleman between everything. They're not actually distributing it themselves. They have all the contacts, because Eric Moss ran the Berserker Kickstarter, Berserk, with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
He ran that, and so he took his skill set from that, made this company, and just realized he had all the contacts, all the information. And they got a front man named Jordan Plosky, who kind of, you know, sells and does all kinds of stuff. And so when I write them, I basically have somebody, I have a team, right? I just call them up and say, get on the phone. We're making this Rubber Man toy. I need you guys talking to toy producers today. And they do it and it comes out of their cut. I can't do that at Kickstarter. I can't call Kickstarter up and say, hey, find me lay fat binding cheaper than $3 a book, because I can't do this $6 book quote I just got. Like, I'll go
Yeah.
broke, right? And
Yeah.
so I have a middleman. Now, sometimes I do take it over myself, because I'm a control freak, right? And
Mm.
I'm like, you found this, but I found this, and I like this one better. And so, you know, it's like, it's like you got a team of people with you to really help you out, and then also they'll tailor make this thing how you want. And they, like, I didn't have to set up this page. Eric stayed up for the last week and was just like, do this, and he went through all my social media for the last year, and he put, oh, when Hickman gave you that A+, that'll look good, and then when this guy did this, that'll look good, and he created a buzz section. I didn't do that. That was all them. And
yeah, and I think this is an important thing for creators that are like potentially looking at platforms to launch on. Like Zoop is it's a different model. Like I was talking to a creator that has a Zoop project up there right now, and he said, but also does Kickstarters pretty avidly. And he said it was definitely a different thing for him, because like any little change to his page or like, oh, I forgot to fix these typos. Well, I can't just go in and do it. I actually gotta, work with the team over there, which, it's not, I mean, anybody that's set up a Kickstarter page knows it's a lot of tweaking, a lot of fine tuning that goes into it. But then for the control freak, if you're looking to have like that thing, it's a little bit different approach than Kickstarter. So interesting to hear your take on it. And so you said
it's been difficult. It's been difficult to let go of, like, I didn't know how this thing would look, but I'm like the cool thing is I do have an editor, and so my editor will call me and be like, dude, this page looks fantastic. But in my head, I'm like, well, could we tweak this? He's like, dude, this looks better than everyone's pages. Stop, cut off the artistic, anally retentive brain. And this is why you hired these guys. Like, let them do their thing. So but when something's wrong, like there was a typo early on, and I can just literally text the guys, which has been super easy, and I don't have to go do it. I don't have the stress of panicking. Like, we said wholesale instead of retail, and people are going to be confused or whatever we've done,
Right.
But yeah, that is a big thing, letting that go. And I know a lot of creatives are like me, where they have a hard time letting it go. But the whole purpose of their model is to let creators create and hand that off. I think once I go through this process once with them, we're really going to know what we like and what we don't like, and we can really figure it all out.
Yeah. So I guess I'm curious. So these things are being processed by Stripe, which is industry standard. I jumped on there, put in a credit card, was able to back it. And they're helping sort of source your vendors for things like that. Who's actually placing the order? Is that going to be you, or is Zoop going to be like you're going to have,
Zoop is Zoop. The contract I signed with Zoop is they're going to hold their cut plus estimated cost of the shipping and everything to get it fulfilled, and a 15% add-on if they think if the quotes are coming back and they're growing or something. So my cut of this number, whenever it comes in at 100K, might only be 40,000, because 25% needs to go to Zoop, 25% needs to go fulfillment, and then there's a 10 or 15% leeway where Zoop doesn't want to eat it, because the fulfillment's on me too. So the number might look really good, but I'm paying for a cost. It's a big cost too. But I really can make more money drawing than fulfilling stuff. I just make more money drawing. So it does make sense for me. It might not make sense for everybody, but for me, it makes sense. So at the end, I think once it's fulfilled and all said and done, so this is how fans should know that it's going to get done. I don't even touch the money. It's all done with them to make sure their brand is strong, that their products are fulfilled. It's not like I'm getting the money and then I got to figure out what to do. I'm actually trusting them completely, and have signed contracts with them, like giving over a lot of trust.
So they're going to place the order for the books and the muscle men and the prints and all of that, like that.
Prints are all them. Books, we get quotes back and we argue out. The muscle man is something that I was getting worked on for the last year. But when it came to producing the muscle men, we were getting all kinds of quotes. I ended up going with a boutique guy who can do them one-off. And so he's molding a set of 10 that he can recast. And it's going to be like I don't know what he said, some kind of, I didn't go with the, you can get like a metal injection molding, but that costs thousands of dollars to do.
Yeah. Unless you're going to be doing mass producing these suckers, which who knows,
I mean,
if you do 2 or 3 books,
if the production goes sideways. So I got some in hand as prototypes, but are we going to be able to reduce 100? It was originally 50 because I didn't want to
Mhm.
overwhelm him because he is a boutique toy maker. And
Yeah.
then, but then he came back and said, we sold out in the first couple hours. So then we did 50 more, but I'm not
Yeah.
comfortable offering any more than that. So he has 100 to do, but I've got like 300 remarks to do. So while I'm doing my remarks for a month or two, he's going to be producing the rest of the toys. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, and that, part of the toy thing, it's a loss for me because I had to pay him to design it, pay for prototypes, and do all that stuff, and that took a long time. And let's say it cost me $1,000, and we sold 100 for 15. You know, originally it was 100 for it was 50 for $15 a piece, but we moved it to 100. Maybe I'll make like $200 now, but
Yeah.
originally it was going to be a loss leader. I just want people to go there and see this as an entity, you know, like it's a
Yeah.
toy. We're putting a trading card tier up today, and it feels like a universe, you know.
Yeah, I've done those with the minifigs, right, of our characters, where this we got a custom. It's not a team, it's a guy, and he
Yeah,
designs
yeah.
them, and he has to source all the pieces for them, and so like it's not a huge money maker, but it makes for damn good like social media images, and I as someone that was a huge muscle figure guy back in the day, like I had about 100 of them. I used to like do. I would like freeze them in ice and then have the other guys try to like unfreeze them. And love playing with those guys back in the day. So when I saw that on there, it definitely made me smile. And it seems like it's a perfectly branded for sort of this style of character. So yes, so like you like the campaign's going to be over, you're going to have a certain number of books that are ordered. Have you started thinking ahead of like, okay, what's the like let's say 12, like let's say 1,000 hardcovers get ordered during this campaign. Like, have you thought about how much you're going to produce in terms of print run size and
Always. So I'm going to do everything I can to get it close to 2,000 because the
yeah.
print run drop at 2,000 significant.
Yeah.
So, but we're almost at 1,000 sold because we got a retailer tier that's times 5, and we got 37 already. And
Yeah.
we're only 3 days in, 4 days in.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't even hit the store owners yet with our direct emails.
Yeah.
This was just the initial launch. So I want to get that number to 100. So that moves 500 on its own. And then like you can see the totals ordered at the top because
Yeah.
trust me, I can't stop looking at this page now, you know. But
Yeah.
like the hardcovers at like 500, or I don't know, I can't quite see on the screen. If you scroll down a hair, it'll have the numbers ordered under each one. Yeah, so that one's like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
515 of the
Numbers claimed.
hardcover,
Yeah.
and then the hardcover signed is 150. So and then with the retailer tier, we're almost at 1,000 already. So I really my goal was to sell 1,000 copies if at all possible.
Yeah.
And with 4 days in, and we're already at almost 1,000, I really think we can push it to 1,400 or
Yeah.
so. And then I'm only sitting on only sitting on 600 copies of this damn book, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I have and this was a thing I had to work out with Zoop, where I struck a deal with a tabletop gaming company that does kind of kit bashing,
Mm.
and they make third-party fill-ins in your Dungeon and Dragons games, and they really love the Jon design, and
Yeah.
so they're developing him, but they have 11,000 unique customers on Kickstarter. Well, they
Right.
can, and I told them, well, I might, if I have overstock, if we don't do well, I've got to maybe let him sell some for me because it's a new product and his fans won't be my fans. And
Right.
so like I had to like do a carve out with Zoop for that.
Yeah.
Like there was a few things that, and you got to stand up for yourself, or just ask, like whenever and I say that with any contract. I've always been a little bit pigheaded and being like, I want this, I want this. You ask and you see, and then you
Mm.
be an adult and you work it out. And Zoop has just been wonderful when it came to that. They've bent over backwards to keep me happy. So I really can't stress enough how well they've handled things with me being a new guy on this platform and new to crowdfunding. They've really tried to keep me at ease, and if anything popped up, we always jump on it and square it away. And I can't recommend them enough. I do think, like, I've had a few friends reach out since it went well, and
Mm.
they've been like interested, and then I start brainstorming how can we make it well for them. But I also know I started a year and a half ago on the promotion, and
Mm.
so like I can't tell them to promote for a year and a half. I can't build that in,
Yeah.
to their social media platforms. But so like I do think it's the Wild West. It's like, how do you, like, you can listen to you and take the general advice, but your own unique idea for how people are absorbing this product and stuff is going to come from you. So obviously the email list and building up interest is probably the most important from what I can gather, but I don't know. Everything else is winging it. And now I'm like, I don't know if you've seen, but I'm doing the same interview. This is at least cool because we're talking about like logistical stuff, but but I'm doing every interview. Is one thing somebody told me was, any interview that's willing to have you, you get on that show
Yeah.
and you promote it. And that's what I've been doing, because, maybe you make a sell or two, and if I was sitting on 1,000 or 500 books, I'd be tickled to do a quick sketch in them if it's sold, So
Yeah.
there are some people have said, like, there's too many remarks, you're gonna be tired. I'm like, I'm happy to move them. The print run is dropping, which saves me money per unit. And if I sit on these in my house, I would love to do a sketch in them and get it in people's hands. And you were asking a logistical thing, like, you didn't ask, but I think you were leading there. How the hell am I going to sign these? Are all right. Well, like, and I originally thought I would have to fly out to the printer, but that's not what we're doing. The printer takes the pages out of the ones we need and they mail them to me. I don't know if you know that or not, but I didn't know that. So they'll pull pages out of the book and then mail. It'd be like the 4 pages, and then that one blank page that's all blue or whatever color we pick, I'll do my signing and sketching on that page, put them back in the box, mail it to them, and then they put it in their print run.
Oh, really? I'd actually never heard of that approach to it.
It sounds crazy.
Interesting.
It
Yeah,
sounds
it sounds
crazy.
crazy.
It sounds crazy to me too. I might be
Yeah.
flying out and like staying there for a week and doing these drawings in these books. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
flying out to China or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
That's the thing. We can't even do the overseas printing. We're having to do it. We're probably having to do it domestically. Originally, we were going to do the overseas, but
yeah,
the freight is backed up. The cost is backed up. We discussed even air shipping in, but that's a fortune. Like all
yeah,
the options to get around it. But I do want to do overseas because allegedly the price is cheaper and the quality is better, and I want it to be the best quality. But now, sorry, my kids are crying in the background. But now it's like we're having to really explore potentially a Canadian publisher or a printer or some domestic ones. So, but those are expensive, but at least you get them faster. So
yeah.
we haven't settled. We've got quotes from a lot of people. I still got 14 pages to draw, and there's a 100-page book, and the colorist is only about 45 pages in. So we've got a little production time to figure that out. But we haven't locked in our spot yet, which I'm nervous about. Like as far as when we're going to get to do it and how we're going to get to do it.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean the good thing is compared to a few years ago, there are actually now some decent hardcover options in the U.S. It's and there's a little bit of sticker shock in the price difference, but when you then factor in, like, I mean, the cost of shipping, as you mentioned, like shipping containers from China like quadrupled. So like, I had a thing where like, oh, I was expecting to spend about 2,500. No, 10,000.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's that makes you look twice at domestic. Oh, and it's going to sit in port for a month and a half. That there's definitely things there. Talk to me about these limited edition lithographs, because like, look, it's huge. It's gorgeous. But like, as someone that like, I'll admit I am not like the biggest print junkie and things like that. But talk to me a little bit about just like what's cool about these things that you're offering. And
That's Jon's first appearance.
yeah.
It's one of the first images I knew, and the way the book opens is there's a legend told about Jon that he's cursed to fall in love with the heads of his many victims because he's collecting these skulls and wearing them and talking to them, and he's lost his mind. And that's how he's presented to the reader. With that piece in particular, it's a double-page spread. And the late great Seth Fisher, who's a comic book artist that's an inspiration to me, his brother is a well-known lithographer, and he does high-end pieces. Actually, the lithographs he sells are like 500 to like $20,000.
Wow.
So I knew coming into this market that the people aren't used to paying those kind of prices for print. So I talked to him, and he said he would do them for $200 a piece and do a limited print run of Jon's, and they're all handmade. So he lays them out, and I don't know if it's like acid and wiping and all that stuff, but it's a handmade piece of art by one of my art heroes' brother, and he's got a shop. He's got a lithography shop, and we talked about him doing a piece, and I settled on this. There's two in the book that I really love, and I settled on this one because it was Jon's first appearance. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to sell the original art because I want the campaign to look like a winner, and I'm going to end up selling that page. So I'm going to end up keeping one of those and framed up in my house. So I always have a piece, and to have it by, the brother of a hero of mine means a lot. So what I did was I went in and added one layer of grayscale, just one cut, so it would add some dimension. And so I looked at the file, a year after drawing it, and really got to get in there and put the lighting down. And so, yeah, I'm really happy with it. And I didn't know if it would sell. Felix, my art rep, was like, I don't know if that will sell because it's not, people aren't aware of that in this art market. But in the first 3 or 4 days, we sold 11 of the 25 print runs. So I think we'll sell out by the time it's over. If not, he's got a shop where he'll hang it and he'll move them in the next, few months. So it's pretty cool. I think the big winner was the book plate. I mean, I think you can't go wrong with that, but I think there were 120 a piece or something, and we sold all 100 in the 2 days. I'm hand drawing them all. I've got about 30 done already. I've been waking up and doing one a day, but
that's the nice thing. You can get started. You can get started on those in advance.
I got to sign and number them and all that. And so that's been really fun. The remarks I can do in about 5 minutes, but I think there's like 200 and something of them now. And the big thing I did was I still love my retail shops, and I know that this new model could potentially cut them out. So what I did was I took the retail price, cut it in half to $20 a book. And now if our print run was $500 or 500 copies, it would have been about $20 a book. It would have been pretty high. Well, luckily we're going to get to 2000, and maybe it drops to like, 13, 12, whatever, we can work it out. But it's an oversized hardcover. It's almost 12 inches high, so it's more expensive.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we're doing for the retailer tier is you get half off, and then you get a free signature and a free remark, so that when you buy it at your shop, you don't just have to charge the $40 cover price.
Yeah.
You can charge for the remark with a drawing inside on all 5 copies. So you get all 5 copies of the book with the drawing inside. You can get more than double what you paid. You can probably get triple what you paid, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So hopefully the retailer's back. And I knew I was taking a loss on that because, again, Zoop takes a cut, and they take a cut off the net, off the top, and I got to fulfill. So, or I got to pay to fulfill. Of course, that's worked into the shipping cost and stuff a little bit, but a little bit of that comes into my end too. So, like, knowing that I wasn't going to make much, getting the product in stores and having that store presence and having that brand awareness was important, because I plan on working on this for the next 5 or 6 years as the new volumes come out. So I'm going to do that on everyone. Make sure I know retailers are hesitant, but I've even worked it out with Zoop, where if some retailers are hesitant, I don't know if they want me saying this online, but they said if a retailer's interested, but they're worried about tying up funds because their money's tight, they will wait till we go to print to charge you if you back. So they'll even hold the charge until we need to pay the printer. That way, the least amount of time with their funds held will be held, And so that was a really cool thing. We haven't even told them that yet. This is the initial 37 was already that. But if there's one who wants a special order or just feels like they want it, but they don't want to do it because their shop is in tight right now, they're willing to delay it. But you got to write them directly and build that, separately. It's not something that's on the campaign page, but that's the kind of stuff where Zoop can do that other platforms just can't do, So I'm getting what I want out of what I want out of my property. So
absolutely. The cover, I know you went and got a cover from, I'm taking it a artist that you're a huge fan of in Dan Pastoris, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, how'd you go about securing that? And I'm also just, as someone that has or is drawing the whole thing, like, wasn't there a party that's like, well, I should do the cover?
No, everyone says that. Like, my art rep was mad at me. Everyone's been mad at me, but the idea is not me. Like, I'm the writer artist. I'll get all the credit, but I'm building a brand. Like, do you see Magnola or Hellboy first? Hellboy is actually in front of him. Shaolin Cal, he's equal footing because we're in the industry, but Hellboy shines. I want Ax-Wielder Jon to shine and put him out front. And so a way to do that was this guy's a classical painter. It's a Dos Pastoras, and his real name's Julio. It's his moniker or whatever he goes by. But he's worked at Metal Hurlant and heavy metal. He works with Jodorowsky, and he's this older Spanish master painter. And you could see like he does the prints he did of and I knew, well, first off, I knew that he kind of liked barbarian stuff. So I sent him I had to go through Jose Villarrubia, who's a famous colorist, but he's also can translate, and he's his rep in America. And so I used him. We got a hold of him, and we said, hey, would he be willing to do the covers for the first 3 volumes of this book? And but he said, okay, well, Das wants to see the book. He doesn't want to just draw on anything.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I paid his commission rate, which was pretty expensive. And then I told him I will also buy the 3 paintings from you too. So I'm working a payment plan out to buy the originals. And like so what I really thought was, when he painted this thing, it's ethereal. It's not my hand. It's not my cartoony hand. He feels like he's painted by a classical Renaissance painter now, and it's hideous. It's like he looks like a bloody stubbed toe. You know what I mean? And I freaking love it. And you can see there's another really famous European painter named Liberatore, and Richard Corbin is kind of mixed in there. He's got a little Frank Quietly, but he's his own entity, and his stuff is super cool. And then the back cover, Nick Darrington just did as a gift. He just drew a quick sketch, and then it looked so good. I was like, dude, this is the back cover. So I'm actually not on the cover. And then if we do the soft covers, and eventually maybe we will, I don't know. Eventually hard covers always turn to soft covers at some point. I have no plans to now, but Frank Quietly is doing Frank Quietly's lined up to do one, and Jeff Darrow I've been talking to. So if we ever do the soft covers, or if I need an illustration for another cover, Ben Quietly is going to do the first one. So we got some really cool things lined up for the project, and some really cool people helping out. It costs, like I said, it's costing me a fortune to make this thing. But like, you should scroll down and show the Lord Fang, dude. The Lord Fang is so good, and he's kind of like my Skeletor 2.0. It's down at the very bottom. Yeah. Or go back up a hair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so he's
this guy kind of blew me away. And
I put spiders for eyes, and he's got like that vagina with teeth look and stuff. And I made him green because I'm a big Skeletor fan, and he's like super evil. But the Das Pastor, now scroll to the Das Pastor's print of him, and it's like so good, dude. It's like my favorite thing. It might be at the bottom. It might be lower. Yeah, it might be lower. There's like 3 in a row. One is a Cyclops, and one is a turtle. Yeah, there it is. So that's the second volume hardcover. But while he was available, I was like, I want all 3, because he was in between a huge he usually does graphic albums painted, so he doesn't come out with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But he was free, and I was like, dude, let me get the first 3 from you while you're free. So I just blew the money and got him. And so that's our 3 main characters. With Lord Fang, I really wanted to be creepy, so I gave him spiders for eyes. And so as he looks around, the butt of the spider the butt of the spider there is his iris. And so the legs of the spider tucked in look like his look a lot like eyelashes. And so he's just like super creepy, over the top, bad guy. And
it's great if you got a hero who looks like Jon. you really got to work to give him a nemesis who would be equally scary.
And then the Horus one on the right, that's our Cyclops in the book, and he's like 30 foot tall, and he's got 6 arms, and he's gigantic, and he's this great, awesome killer. But also, he's like, in the 3rd volume, he's gonna really become a main character. And so, since I plotted it all out, and I knew I was going to do at least the first 3 volumes, I might take a break after the first 3 and do some bigger work if I need it. But because I didn't know if this was going to fall on its face, and I didn't, before we launched. But I was all in, and I plotted out the first 5 hardcovers are plotted out, but the first 3 are like really solid with scripts. So I've just been picking them away, a panel a day for the last year and a half. Family stuff, slowing me down here and there, but I'm 90% done penciling and inking it. We're 50% done with the colors. The book designer is already doing the chapter breaks, and we're rolling. The money's kind of tight right now, me and my wife. So we're waiting for this thing to fund to really, pay the colorist more so he can work faster, and pay, the designer to get done. It's money's energy, you got to feed the beast,
It
right?
is.
So like if the money drains up,
Yeah.
The work drains up. You know
And
what I
that's
mean?
yeah, and that's the challenge as you get into the business of publishing, because like both the business and you need to eat,
Yeah, yeah.
and sometimes they compete for resources. But I'm glad to see, in just a few days, the outpouring for this, and it's a testament to the work that you've done on so many beloved books over the past couple of years, and the connections that you made in the industry as well, and then doing the work, rolling up your sleeves, getting on Instagram, sharing it. I think you still see people say, hey, keep that under wraps, but given that most of the biggest crowdfunding successes were long running web comics still, it shows that most people's biggest problems is an awareness and an interest problem, not a, oh, you showed too much problem.
Yeah, yeah, I really feel that way. And building that awareness and brand awareness. And I see people saying that they backed it already and stuff. Thanks, guys, for listening to me yap, and thank you for backing it. It means the world. Keep an eye on it. We got some more stuff we're gonna post soon, but it's gonna be we're gonna get this thing over to 6 figures. So I'm pumped about it. My wife's pumped about it too, because we got obviously had to put some stuff on money on the credit cards. They're
Yeah.
ballooning up as we're building this thing, and there's a huge gamble. And not with two new little girls, it's really tough. But or is
Yeah.
it? But I wasn't scared either, because I knew I was going to draw the heck out of it. And so when I was drawing, it was like people do tell me you're showing too much. You can't show too much. If you draw something cool, it's advertisement. You control it. Why would you restrict it when you need to build an audience, when you need to build interest,
Yeah.
and if I can get like a good retweet from a big pro, or a good someone says awesome on an Instagram post, and I'll screen cap that. Chris Somney said this looks freaking awesome. I'll put it on my campaign page, and I got a pull quote without trying.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that, I was just doing all the time. I did that to Nick Darrington and or Nick Dragata in Burnham, and the Eric went back and made the page and put their emails on there, but they were like, "This looks fucking nuts," or
Yeah.
sorry for cursing, but this looks freaking nuts. And I was like, "Okay, thanks, buddy." Screen cap and tweet it out.
You said it. We got you on tape. You
Yeah,
can't deny it.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
man. I love it. I love that, like, this next phase for you. I think you're gonna have a blast, and I think this is gonna be the kind of thing when you then take it to conventions, and get to see the people's reactions, and discovering it for the first time. Because, like, I mean, the crazy thing about the crowdfunding things is you can do big campaigns, and even the campaigns that get into the thousands of backers, that still like leaves like 99+% of the comic buying audience that is still out there yet to discover it. And so by launching the next book, you're going to bring back a lot of these people in the list that you've did. Oh, that was one question I did have for you. So you've been building your own email list and promoting to that through that. From a customer list standpoint, does Zoop own that, or will you get to have access to that too?
no, so there was wording in the contract that you got to be protective. There's legal things where you can't share emails and stuff, but I made it to where that's my email list,
Yeah.
because I told Zoop, you're here to help me, and I don't want redundancy. I don't want an email list for me and an email list for the campaign. Like, these are my customers, and you're a new platform. I'm going to be driving my social media for the next year to you guys. Those are our customers, and so like
Yeah.
I have it worded in the contract that Kuroshi Comics, Nick Pitarra, that's they have to give it, which is fine. They were totally understanding of that.
Right.
It's worded to where before we launch, I get the email list, and when we're done, I get the email list. Now, the reason why they would, a company them like them might want, because they want me to come back and keep using their services and not take it elsewhere.
Yeah.
But if I'm building this thing, like, and I'm using them as a new company, like they've got to listen to my wants and needs, because like I said, this is a huge financial risk for me. I'm risking everything, like my career on hold for a year and a half while I'm not doing big two work and getting my name out there. If this thing just craps the bed, I at least want my customers that did support me to figure out a new way to utilize them, or interact with them. And so, but
Absolutely.
they're completely understanding of that.
Yeah.
You just got to be, when you're dealing with people, what I found is if you're earnest and you make a point, and they'll have their own points too, because they're running a business as well. And I work out for me, they look out for them, and you meet them in the middle. But Zoop has been really wonderful about those concerns. I created the Kuroshi Comics brand because I can't just like say, if you sign up for this, buddy, I'll give it to Tradmore and he can use it. That's not the way it would work. You have to create your own company brand. So you're if another product comes out that's parallel to Jon, you can at least say the Zoop can. It'll probably be through Zoop, but because I don't want to confuse people, but you can at least say, hey guys, this next book by X and Y, I'm doing a chapter in. If you're interested here, and then that way you can kind of pass the baton without it being legally messed up, because you can't actually share confidential information with your customers with other people. It's illegal. So
Right. Yeah. Oh, this is exciting stuff, and I'm happy for you so far, Nick. And this is going to be, it'll be a big learning experience, I'm sure. And I'm sure when you're on that 200 or 300th remark, you're going to be like, next time we're bumping that price.
yeah.
But to get to get the ball rolling for yourself on a launch like this, I think is a great thing. And so I'm looking forward to getting my copy and hopefully seeing you at a convention and getting it signed.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, like when I started thinking about this, start watching your videos and stuff, and I know I need to sign up for your thing, but you're so like Kickstarter based. Like all your videos are very Kickstarter, you know. So like, I don't. A lot of that information does transfer.
Yeah.
A lot of it scares me though too because of the printing stuff. But I've definitely been checking more of your videos out lately and going back and looking at old ones, and it's been a huge resource, and you're a huge resource to the crowdfunding community and comic books in general. So I appreciate that. I know it's free content. I need to sign up for your services. You were a guy early on, like, and I know you have something like this, but I never followed through. But do you just like someone pay you for your services to like run a campaign, or no?
No,
Because
I don't. I mean, all the projects that I run are like Comics Tribe branded projects that I'm going to publish. And so that, I have a little bit more of a stake in them. There are people out there that like, hey, they'll run your campaigns for you. But I don't like, but usually it's got to be like a really big campaign for them to make it worth their while. And a lot of the comic projects, like even projects that are well, the more people you add into it, the more difficult it is to sort of make it make sense. So a lot of, most of what I do with the comics launch stuff is just, giving people the tools to rock this themselves. But I'm actually selfishly for the podcast audience, glad that you launched on Zoop, because I have been getting more and more questions about creators that are just interested in, understanding what the platform is. And I named my podcast Comics Launch because while I think Kickstarter is great, I still think for most creators it's the right decision. That isn't something that is set in stone, and they could always go the dark side, but we're still going to be launching comics out into the world. And so I appreciate having people come in with different perspectives, different goals, and to know that there's a rich crowdfunding opportunity out there and more platforms for creators to choose from and make the right decision from them. And I think this podcast will at least give creators the ideas of whether or not, researching and pursuing Zoop for their launches makes sense. So I appreciate you sharing that insight.
Well, now that this is going to be more of a probably a career path for me, it looks like, with the success, I'm definitely going to sign up. I should have a long time ago. I'm sorry I haven't, but and hopefully we can develop more of a relationship than running to each other at a show every 5 years or whatever, And
well, yeah,
I'll
man,
pick your brain a little more.
And I think one of the things that you've already seen probably is the power of the just the network of other creators with audiences, and then other creators with audiences and email lists. Because there's still a lot of creators that are like huge names, but like if they had to put a message in front of like people that love their work and not go through a publisher, it'd be tough to do that. And so
no, absolutely. And absolutely, building your own audience is key. Like I did this, there's a young man whose name's Dan Fee, and he's got a podcast, and John Lees was on it, and he's like 14 years old, but he's interviewed Quietly and Grant Morrison and stuff. And I was like, dude, you keep doing this for 5 years, when you're 19 or 20, you're going to own the comic book industry. Because his subscriber base will be like 100,000. You're being endeared to 100,000 people for your content, your interviews. When he goes to write and he wants to be a writer, he's going to have all the power. Like, you won't even need to go to Marvel. You would just go to Kickstarter or Zoop or whatever platform is there at the time, and utilize your audience, and you control everything. It's probably the most important. And I'm not good at it. I never do it. So like me with promoting this, I was very aware that I didn't have an audience. So reaching out to guys like you and other people to get to talk about the book has been important. And I appreciate you letting me come on here and sell. And I hope people learn a little bit about the story of Jon. And you should have me back on in 2 months when I'm buried in work, and I tell you all the mistakes I made, because right now it's
Yeah.
all fun, and I know they're going to be mistakes because every day something's popping up, production, this, that, like it as much as Zoop lets you be free, you're never free. There's always something popping up.
There's always there's always something. And as someone that was up late last night putting some comics in bags and boards and shipping some stuff out, like it never ends. But once you get that first taste, it's hard to it's hard to not to keep doing this thing and seeing how big you can build it. So I'm excited that you've now caught the bug. And there's several more volumes of Ax-Wielder Jon to come, even beyond this first awesome launch. Any final thing you want to plug, or anything else that you're looking forward to this year that you want to mention before we sign off here, Nick?
It's Ax-Wielder Jon all day for me, and all night for the next couple of months. And as I finish up the last 14 pages, and then if people don't know Zoop, I bought the URL axwielder.com, and you can just scroll down. There's a buzz section that shows you like what nice things people have said and whatnot, which is pretty cool. I think it's like you can go and see what other creators have said, or some advanced reviews I've gotten. And if you're interested, check it out. That's about it, man. We're gonna post. I'm getting in the trading card game, so I researched how to get the sealed foil packs and all that. So if I don't sell at least like 50 of these, I'm losing money. So please go buy my my foil cards that I'm printing, and I'm going to sign one in every pack, and someone's going to get the original art to one card in the pack, because I'm getting them printed, then I've got to self seal them. So I'll be sealing stuff too. I'll be up.
You're gonna pick up so many random skills just in doing this, of like stuff that you never knew was a thing, like sealing cards and making muscle men. I love it. But yeah, it's a fun world to sort of be able to build a brand and make choices for it, and see what the audience responds to, and that's sort of direct thing, and put stuff out into the world that, like, if all you're selling is through the direct market, you're pretty limited as what you can actually sell. But now you can get crazy with what you're offering, and I'm all for it, my friend. Thanks so much. And everyone watching, thank you for checking it out. I hope you check out Ax-Wielder Jon over at Zoop, and follow the work of Nick Pitarra. Thanks, Nick.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.